Hi, this is Jimmy McTiernan from The Productive Engineer, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that many of you have asked me to cover on my videos, which is roll-ups and relations in Notion. Relations allow you to basically tie two different databases together by creating a relationship on a column between one table and another. It's a really cool functionality once you get the hang of it, because it really allows you to bring data from various tables together in a way that makes sense and adds values and reduces time on your workflow. Rollups are basically the ability to pull data and calculate it from one based upon your relations between two tables. It sounds like a mouthful. As you see, I stuttered with it a little bit there, but once you get the hang of it, you're able to actually calculate values based upon the relationships and between the two tables, which I'm going to show you how to do in this tutorial. Now, if you're feeling uncomfortable with Notion, or you go through this tutorial at any point and realize, hey, I could probably use a brush up on Notion, or maybe I want to learn some of the nuances of tables or some of the nuances of the various property types within a table, you really should check out my beginner's guide to Notion. I covered that in all the basics of Notion. I take you from not knowing anything about Notion. By the end of it, the video, you'll be able to do pretty much anything you need to do in Notion. I'm going to link it above me, so I recommend you check that out. So let's get started. Okay, so as you can see, I've created a page in Notion here, Relations and Rollups in Notion, real creative title. And I have three different tables that I'm going to tie together using relations and then use rollups to calculate values based upon the relationships between the tables. So I have a contacts database, which most people probably will have in Notion. If you're using it for any kind of business purpose at all, you probably have the contact list. It's probably pretty convenient to have a basic contacts list here. It's nothing too fancy here: name, occupation, company, phone number, and email. A very basic contact list. The next table is projects. I'm choosing a project and task management oriented solution here. I actually have done a whole task management video. I will also link that above. That teaches you how to build a task management system inside of Notion. And if you're interested in that, check that video out. But here I did a very simple one. I really wanted to test, and the reason why is because I wanted to test the relationships between projects and tasks. They kind of go together naturally, so this was a natural fit. Plus, it also allows me to show off rollups between the three tables. And lastly, I have a task table. It's a very simple one, so if I scroll down here, you can actually see it. I have a handful of tasks in here, and I'm going to scroll here to the left, and I have 6 columns or categories: task name, the category, the status of the task, the due date, how much estimated time to complete it, and the actual time it took to complete. So things you would typically track in a task management system, a very basic task management system. So, because a lot of times you want to know how long a task took to get done. If you're, I hate to keep plugging videos here, the last one I promise. If you're interested in time management inside of Notion, there's actually a service called a free service called Clockify that you can actually use to literally start and stop timers inside of Notion. I will also link that video up above. Last one, I promise. I will not link any more videos for the rest of this thing. We'll just be right into the tutorial. So let's get started. So let's say I have some tasks and I want to assign an owner to them, or owners to them. So I can sit here and create the normal way most people would do that: create a new column, which I'll do right here. I'll scroll to the end here, create a new column, and give it a title, owner, and I'll put parenthesis S to say owners. It would be a text file, and you would hit, or a person, you would typically come down here to the property type and choose person as an example. Come over here and choose person, and as you can see, that would be a person, and then you would type in the people from your team. That works if those people are in Notion. But if they're not in Notion, it doesn't really work. So you say, well, the next thing I would do is then just make it a text, come back here, make it a text file, a text property, and just type in the names of each person. But that, again, is not a great solution either. Remember our contacts database I have up here? Wouldn't it be better if I could just link this column to this table to the names in this table, and then be able to just add those, have those people's information cipher through automatically into this table, that would be much more powerful, because now I'm not duplicating information. I don't have to enter the names. I don't have to enter all the other data potentially. I have it all right there in the table. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So we've already given it a name, so I'm going to click on it. It already has the owner's name, but for property type, instead of text, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to where it says relation. As you can see right here, it says allows pages in this database to reference pages in another, and that's the key. That's where the name relation is. You're relating one database to another. So I'm going to click that, and you're going to get this create a relation to another database dialog box. It'll tell you a relation allows you to link the pages from another database. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to type in contact, and I actually have two of them because I've been playing around with this. So I'm going to choose the original contact, and I'm going to click create relation. And as you can see, nothing's happened in my contacts table yet, but stay tuned, that will change in a second. But down here I have this new column with this little arrow that points to the upper right. And what that arrow means, whenever you see that, that means that this relates to another database or table in Notion. You see this with linked databases as well. It has the same symbol when you create them. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to say this one is, this task here is initial diagramming of secret layer. Well, that sounds like Bruce Wayne all the way to me, the Batman. So I'm going to come over here, see where Bruce Wayne is. I'm going to click on add page to relation button, that little plus button right here. I'm going to click it. I'm going to come off of it. And now you can see that Bruce Wayne with a little page. So remember, every row of a table is a page. Now there's a reference to that right here. And if I click in here to the next one, I can add somebody else, but I'm not going to do that. Now that created a relationship between this and the contacts, but let me come back up to the contacts, and as you can see, I have a new column inside of my contacts table. Right now it has a really weird name called related to tasks owner. So what I'm going to put in here instead is I'm going to come over here, kill the name, and I'm going to call it instead tasks assigned. Hit enter. I'm not changing anything else. So now whenever I put Bruce Wayne in any of these tasks, it will update. So I'll come to another one here. Superhero party planning. I imagine they're normal people, right? So they would have parties. So let's say I want to add Bruce Wayne to this. Do the same thing as last time. Click in the field. Click the plus button. Click off. Come back up. And now I have, in Bruce Wayne's section, I have 2 tasks that are assigned to him. And I'll just keep adding them in here. So that's a pretty cool way of seeing everything that's assigned to you or assigned to a person based upon what we did over here in the tasks. So I can go into contacts, and now I have an additional column here. And if I don't want to see that column, I can hide it by clicking on it, excuse me, and clicking hide. And if I did that, it would disappear. I'm going to Control Z to undo that, and so I can see it. So that's pretty good. So now I'm going to go off camera for a second, add the rest of the people into the various tasks, and then come back and show you what that looks like. So give me a second and stay tuned. Okay, so I've gone in and added owners to every task. Some of them have multiple owners, up to 3 of them. Some have single owners, some have 2 owners, as you can see in this list. Now let's go see what that did to my contacts list. Obviously, it's become much bigger, so I can see that I can see all the tasks that are assigned to each person, where that person has a responsibility for that task. So this is a really cool way by creating a relationship between my contacts and my task database to not have to enter any of that information again. And the nice thing is, if I'm working in my tasks and I want to see what's going on with Bruce, I can click on Bruce and I see everything that's in there, including what tasks he's assigned, right there in a quick pop-up, which is pretty cool. Okay, so you see what we did with Bruce. Same thing works with, if I come over here to Charlie Bucket and I want to see what Charlie's up to, I can click on that, go Charlie, and I can see that he has 2 tasks assigned to him. I can open it as a page as well, but I'm not going to do that. Or I can simply just scroll over here. Now, the only thing is if he has more than one task assigned, I'm not going to see them all in this little quick pop-up. So what I need to, that's when you click on his name, and then it'll give me a quick, bring me up the page, and I can see the task that he's assigned. So, pretty cool. Now, I have a little typo here. I'm going to correct it. Numgum. It should be nutgum. Don't know how that, got past my vigorous editing, but it did. So now that we've tied those two together, what about our projects? Tasks typically are part of projects. So what I can do is, much like I did down here in my task database, much like I added owners, I could create another relationship here for projects. So I can call it project, because every task is typically assigned to a project. Come over here, again, select relation. Again, it's going to bring me up to the same pop-up we saw last time. I'm going to select database. I'm going to type in project. And you can see there's 2 options here because I was practicing on projects too. So I will select projects. I will click create relation. And now here we go. So when I click on, the cool thing about this is when I click on, like the first one, initial diagram of secret layer, which Bruce Wayne is responsible for, I click on it, and it will show me my projects. And I can see superhero secret layer. Well, that's the one I want. So I'm going to click add, and I'm going to jump off. I can go to the next one and say, well, that's the Chocolate Factory Zoom call. So they're making a chocolate bar for Batman. I will assign that to him. The next one is superhero party planning. I will put that as part of the secret layer. The next one is plot revenge against Willy Wonka. That goes in the Revenge Against Willy Wonka project. Apparently they're not happy about what happened to them in the chocolate factory. Create salted nut gum flavor. That's the salted nut gum project. And you get the idea. So I've created this relationship here. And I can keep going if I want. But let's see what happens to my project. So when I come up here, as you can see, my projects now has this new column. Again, we can change the name to tasks for project. Hit enter. And now all the tasks that I assign to a particular project in my task section automatically sync up with my projects thing. So now when I'm in my projects table, I can see all the tasks that are assigned to it. And then when I'm in my task table, I can also see what project each of these tasks are assigned to. So again, it saves you a lot of dual work. It's working smarter, not harder, which is a horrible cliche, but you get the idea. You don't have to re-enter data multiple times. I can just drop that data in, no problem, and everything's good. So now that we've talked about relations, now let's talk about rollups. Rollups really are the ability to combine data based upon the relations that you've created. That sounds like a really generic description, but I can't come up with a better definition. So I'm just going to show you how it works, and I think then it will make more sense to you. So let's take a look. So notice I have this estimated time to complete in hours. Now, that's great on individual tasks, but when I'm looking at my project, I want to be able to estimate how much time I have my project start date and due date, but how much work hours do I estimate the project's going to take, right? So for each project. So I could come up here in my projects, add a new column, call it estimated work time, and come over here text, come down here to Rollup. And as you see here, it's going to give you display and summarize data from a relation, which is a much more elegant way of saying it than I said it earlier, but we'll continue. So I'll click Rollup, and when you click, it gives you this little magnifying glass. That's when you know it's a Rollup. So let's say I wanted to know the estimated hours for the total estimated hours for the salted nut gum project. I can click in here and I get this sort of 3-phase pop-up where first thing I need to select the relation I'm talking about. Well, the relation I'm talking about is in the tasks. So I'm going to say task for project. There it is. I click on it. The next thing I can say is the property I want. Well, the property I want for this column is the estimated time, right? So as you can see down here, I have an estimated time to complete. So I'm going to click on here under property, go to estimated time to complete, and click on that. And then calculate. Now I can just show the original, or the one I really want. You have a bunch of different functions here, but the one you're going to use a lot of the time are ones like average, min, max, stuff like that. But the one we're going to use for this is sum, because I want the total. I click sum, and I close, and you notice I did it in one, but it automatically pre-populates the data for all of these. So this is the estimated work time. Now remember, I didn't go back and assign projects to every single one of these. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to do that real quick. So this one's salted gum. This one is Batman chocolate bar. This one is superhero secret lair. You know what? I'm going to go off camera for a second and just do the rest of these, and it'll show you the impact on the numbers. Okay, now I'm back. So as you can see here in the project column, I filled in the project for each of these tasks. And now we're going to go up to the projects and see what that did. And as you can see now, my estimated work time numbers are in here. So this is the total number of hours it's going to take to complete each of these projects, the estimated work time in hours for each of these projects. So that is really cool when you think about task management and project management, right? Because a lot of times you end up duplicating the data by multiple tables. If you have a task table and it starts becoming a project table, or you have two separate tables, but you found yourself, trying to re-enter the information or trying to rationalize the information between the two tables. Instead, now you just create a relationship. So whenever I update something in tasks, it automatically updates it in projects. Really cool. This is really powerful. Once you get the hang of this, this will change the way you use Notion. So that is really cool. I could even go off and build an actual, which I'm going to come over here and scroll down here a little bit, and you can see in my task database I actually have an actual time to complete. Now a lot of these aren't completed, but let's say they were. So I'm going to once again go off camera real quick so you don't have to watch me enter random data in here, and I'm going to populate this whole column full of values, and I'm going to come back in a second. Okay, we're back. So as you can see, I've pre-populated or post-populated, because I actually stopped it and did the population. I put values in for each of these actual times. Now, obviously, you can say, well, the task status doesn't show complete for all of these, Jim. They don't, because I didn't feel like go back and updating the task. This is more a demo for showing you how roll-ups and relations work. So here we go. I have all my values here. Now, what I want to do is come up here and do exactly what we did last time. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click here. I'm going to say actual work time. I'm going to come down here, scroll over to Rollup, click that. I'm going to click in here, select my existing relation, which is my task for project. And as you can see, it's, by default, it always chooses task, the first column to the left, which is normally the names, and in this case, task name for us. I'm going to change that to actual. And you see it gives me all the values that are calculated. That's showing the original, which means it shows me each value. I'm going to come here. I'm going to choose sum and click out. And as you can see, I have my how much time I estimated, how much time it actually took. And as you can see, in every case, we underestimated the time it would take. So the only people that really did good was Superhero Secret Lair because Bruce Wayne's a great planner. He's a master. So that is how you create a roll-up. Really cool. So that is a really cool way of quickly calculating values. So I've showed you how to relate these, right? But what if I wanted to see how many hours each person, how many estimated hours of work each person has in my contact list? Well, I could do that as well. I could click here, click plus. I could type in estimated work time, workload in hours. I could come over here, click a roll up. I'm going to scroll over a little bit so we can see better. Actually, you know, I'll just pull this over as well because we want to see it. And I can click in here. I can click existing relation, tasks assigned, estimated time, and under here, click sum. And as you can see, this is the total estimated workload for each person based upon the task that they have. As you can see, the workhorses of this group are Bruce Wayne. Here at 160 leads the pack, followed closely by Veruca Salt. So you can see that is just a quick way. And then again, as we spoke about earlier, as I add more tasks and assign them to people and add estimated work, it automatically will update and summarize my data. So this is a great table if you manage a bunch of employees, for example, or helpers or contests, and you assign a bunch of different work and you have estimated time and you want to make sure you're not overloading somebody. As you can see here, Willy Wonka is incredibly lazy. He only has 2 hours of estimated work, which Bruce Wayne and Veruca Salt are killing him right now. You get the idea now. So I can have my estimated work in here. Very cool. Now, one other thing I can do, and this to me really amplifies the value here, is I can actually do math, create a separate column that does math based upon two different relations. So 2 different roll-up columns. So obviously, when I have my estimated work and my actual work, I want to see what the delta is. I want to see, you know, how far off I was, right? So I can actually create another column called actual versus estimated. Now you say, well, that's going to be a number, right? Because I'm doing some math. No. It's a formula. And I'm going to show you how that works real quick right here. So I'm going to come down here to advanced, click formula. So there we go. And I'm going to click in here. And all you do is, it looks really complicated. When I first learned how to do this, I looked at this and went, I'll never learn this, right? Just because, like, it would, you know, properties, I have constants, I have operators. You can do a ton of things in formulas. And in the future, I will do a formula video. I haven't done one yet. Although, when you're watching this, I may already have it out. So check my channel, just in case. But here we go. All I do is I select estimated, because I want to take the estimated minus the actual and see what my delta is. So I'll take estimated. And as you can see, it populates right up here in this nice little line. Prop means properties, and it says this property. I hit the subtract, the minus button, and then I come down here to actual, and I click it. And notice that once I've done that, this is a valid statement. So the done button, which was grayed out earlier, is now there. I can click done, and you can see it calculates it. If you do the math here, if you want to sit here and watch the video and say, did Jimmy get it right? Yes. You can see 42 minus 48 is -6. 100 minus 102 is -2. So you can see where you went off in your estimation. Pretty cool. The other thing you could do, if you're really looking to use this template, and I am going to link this make this a template, and I'm going to put the link to it in the description. So if you want to download this into your Notion and play around with it, as a template or just play it around as a page, you can have at it. I will put the link below, so that'll hopefully help you out. I can actually come over here and do the very same thing. I could create this column. I could call it actual versus estimated, just like I did the last one. Come in here, do come in here, hit formula, click on the first cell, and do the exact same thing. Estimated minus actual. As you can see now, it says done. There it is. I will drag it by clicking and holding and pulling it through the columns till I put it where I want and let it go. And as you can see here, 25 minus 40 is negative 15. 2 minus 1 is 1. You can see. So now I can see not only on the project level how far I was off, but now because I did this, if I see there's a major gap, like I might say 13 hours off, that seems like a lot. I could come down here to my salted nut project and, you know, tasks. I can see all my tasks, and I can go down and look at this. And one of the things I can actually do is come in here, hit the ellipses. I can hit filter. I can add a filter. And I only want to see where project contains salted nut gum. And now my tasks I only see in this task list right now, I'm only seeing the ones that are for salted nut gum, because that's the one where I felt like I had the gap. And as you can see, I was 21. My actually 2 to 4, I was actually estimated better than actual. But here, going to production, I estimated 55 hours, but I actually took 76. Now, obviously, this is a random examples. I'm not really making salted nut gum, but you can see there was a gap, and that's how you can identify it. And if you want to get rid of that filter, you can just, come over here to filter, come over here to the ellipses, and click remove. Now, you say, that's great, Jim. That's awesome and all, but what happens if I want to have that view all the time? Like there may be one project that I always want to be able to see that data in all those roll-ups. Well, there's a couple ways I can do that. Well, there's one very simple way. I can come down here, type link, and come down here to create link database. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to type in tasks. Give it a second. You know, as you can see, it comes up. I'm going to click it. And as you can see, remember that arrow I talked about earlier in the video? That describes that it's pointing to another database. Well, you see it here in my link database. And all link database is a custom, it's basically a view of the existing database. If I edit something in here, it's going to change it over in the other database. So as you can see, all the data is here for my tasks. And I can put that filter on that we had earlier. And I can type in and call it, the same thing. Add a filter. Project contains salted nut. You say, well, it would be better if I could add, a title for this table, because right now it says task, because you can't really edit that because it's relating back. But what you could do is put a heading in front of it. So I'll type a heading in here, and I'll call it salted nut tasks. Nut gum tasks. Hit enter, and I can just grab this and pull it underneath. And now, as you can see, these are all the tasks for this project, right? And now I can see my gap. I can see my gaps here. And one of the other things I can do is that's really cool, is I can also summarize data for the entire table. So I showed you how you can summarize, using the relations and the roll-ups. But I have a table here that has a total amount of estimated work time, right? So I can come up here and say, let's say this is my whole team, and I want to figure out the total amount of estimated work hours I've assigned my team. So if I come down here, hit calculate, I can actually have a bunch of functions here that will sum or average. So I can sit here and let's say I wanted to get the average of all the average workload per person. I can click average and it gives me the average and it tells me it's the average. I can also come in here instead and hit sum and change it, and you can see that the total number of estimated work hours assigned to the whole team to each, the aggregate number is 492 and then I can look at this and say I got 492 work hours and Willy Wonka has 2 work hours. There's a problem, I may need to redistribute. So that's pretty cool, and I really like that. You can also, the other nice thing about that is I can come down here, I can sit there and say, well, how many total estimated work hours do I have? I can also show that here by hitting the sum, right? And now I know that this project currently has 125, and I know that's correct because if I come back up to my projects, my estimated work time was 125, as you can see here. So really cool how you can play around with, once you get the hang of the working with tables, the relations and roll-ups, it is extremely powerful. I highly recommend you try it. I'm going to again put a link in the description to the template. I recommend that you pull it down, pull it into your Notion database, into your Notion workspace, and just play around with it a little bit. If you ruin it, no problem. Just delete that page and go back to the link again and pull it up again. Don't feel like you have to worry about it. You're not messing up my section because it's going to make a copy of what I have here. It's going to make a copy of that into your Notion workspace. So anything you do will not mess up what I have here. And if you mess it up in your Notion page, just re-import it again. Go back to the link and just redo it again. Really simple. The best way to learn is to tinker, right? And I hope this video is really helpful to you. If you liked this video, please click the like button. It really helps out my channel. I normally ask you to do that in the beginning of the video. I totally forgot. So please, if you got to this point and you liked the video, please click the like button. It really helps out my channel. It shows YouTube that this content I'm making is helping people. If you want to see more videos about Notion, RemNote, Evernote, any kind of note, Google Docs, Todoist, pretty much any app that's out there, that's remotely about productivity, I make videos about them. I love these apps. I think we are living in a great time for getting things done on, whether you're on a tablet, mobile phone, or desktop. There's so many apps and services out there that can really help you get things done. I highly, if you like any of these apps and you use them regularly, I recommend subscribing to my channel because I do tutorials all the time. If you're into Notion especially, I have a huge playlist. Check out my channel. I have tons of videos in there. I'm constantly adding more, including that beginner's guide I mentioned earlier. Check it out. And lastly, if you want to be notified when I release new videos, please click the bell. Thanks.